Have you ever wondered if, at the size of the monster you created, and looked back on it and wondered if
Oh,
it
yes, sure.
could ever have gotten out of hand? And
Well, sometimes it does. But, yeah, it remains a little unreal. I think when you enjoy what you're doing and when the success kind of comes day by day, you're never really able to fully, appreciate it. But, yeah, it remains a little unreal for me.
yeah, you never have decided at a certain day to just give it all up and go into a monastery or anything, have you?
Not yet. No.
No? Just checking. If that feeling comes over you during the show, we'll send for some brochures for you or something. How did you, at the beginning, did you visualize the size that you wanted the success you have to be? Did you know where you wanted it to go and how far you wanted it to stop, or did you just decide to start the snowball rolling and see where it
No,
would...
in no way. When the magazine began, as you mentioned a minute ago, I had no money. And I had worked for Esquire briefly, and I really simply hoped to put together a magazine because I was a magazine guy and enjoyed editing, and hoped to put together a magazine that I could continue to work on. And I had no notion when it began that it was going to in any way grow into the thing that it has.
Yeah. Do you know now who all reads Playboy?
Well, you mean statistically? Or,
yeah, what
yes,
groups of people read Playboy?
For advertising purposes, all magazines, or most of the major magazines, analyze their audience, so we have a good notion as to who they are. They're mostly college audience and young professional, average age 29, which for a magazine generally is young. About half of them married and half of them single. Most of the marrieds are newly married. Upper income professional.
Yeah. I heard somewhere that you have the most phenomenal newsstand sale of any magazine. Is that right?
Yes, I think so. Possible exception might be TV Guide. For any magazine, well, TV Guide is kind of a special kind of area of its own. But even outselling such really vast circulation magazines as Reader's Digest in terms of single copy sale.
Yeah. Why is that important? Why is it good to have a big newsstand sale as opposed to...
Well, that's where the money is.
Is that it?
Yeah, one of the problems, as I assume most of your audience knows, the magazine industry in general, particularly since television, has had a lot of problems. And within the last few days, Saturday Evening Post has gone out of business.
Yes, and the man I saw interviewed predicted that other magazines would too.
Well, a number of other major magazines in the last few years have, and I suspect others will follow. I think that's because TV has taken over many of the areas that general interest magazines have handled in the past, so that the future really is in specialized books that reach a particular market. And the idea of what a specialized magazine is, I think, has changed a good deal. When Playboy began, the limit in terms of circulation of a specialized magazine was a few 100,000. Now it's obvious it's possible today to put out a book, well, Playboy as an example, which obviously is aimed at a very specific audience and doing a particular kind of job, and have a circulation of many millions.
Right. What kind of women, this is a strange way to phrase it, do women read Playboy magazine?
Yes, a surprisingly large number. Of our total readership, 1 out of every 4 is a woman. And I think the major reason for that is because the things that make the magazine popular, the girls are the centerfold, et cetera, the things that are most talked about, most publicized. But the general editorial attitude and the fiction and the humor are things that appeal to both men and women of a particular point of view. And I think that what has made Playboy successful is the fact that it came along at a time in which much of magazine publishing was in older hands. And there is this generation gap that we've heard a good deal about, and I think that Playboy was the first one to speak with a voice that a great many people were looking for, and that both young men and women could identify with.
Sometimes I wonder if the magazine won't eventually get to a point where you could actually forget about the centerfold and all that stuff. There'd probably be an outcry.
I hope not.
But, I mean, you'd be amazed how many people, when they first see their first issue of the magazine, don't realize how many respectable authors are represented in there and how good those interviews are that you have with people who are those long interviews.
Well, Esquire went through a period, in the in the 30s and the early 40s. Esquire had the petty girls and the cartoons, and then for whatever reason, whether they became self-conscious about it or whatever the reason, they changed the book. And various people have asked me whether, with the success of Playboy, whether we are going to consciously change the concept of the magazine later, whether we need the girls. And it's never going to happen because for me, and that's really where Playboy is at, for me the inconsistency has always been in our society that suggested that a healthy interest in beautiful women was somehow inconsistent with a healthy intellectual interest. And to me, a complete man is both. And Playboy is both because Playboy is entertainment for the complete man.
Mm-hmm. And the ladies are quite complete in it.
Yes.
We have. What is it about you and ministers and clerics and priests? Every time one opens Playboy magazine, there's some kind of debate going on in the letters section about some theological topic or other, and it's amazing how many ministers, people write in and say they think the magazine is important for the views it expresses and so on.
We've even had to develop a special clerical rate because of the interest from
Is that
clergy.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
You can imagine that with Playboy. Yeah.
I picture a cleric somewhere in his study prizing the staples out of the. Putting them out. I guess.
Tell me about your church, Dick.
I'm not affiliated with any particular church in my imagination there.
I was going to join it, but it sounded pretty good.
But there's quite a lot of interest in the magazine in those circles, isn't there?
Well, with the Playboy philosophy, the editorial series that we started several years ago, we got more involved in a number of the social, sexual issues of the day, and this prompted a reaction, response, and interest from the clergy. And my original frame of reference was really that secular society was kind of on one side of the issue, and the clergy were on the other, which turns out not to be true. There is, which is kind of evident now with the ecumenical council and the rest of it. There's a sexual and a social revolution taking place inside organized religion today too, so they're very much concerned and interested. And I think they're kind of turned to Playboy sometimes because they're concerned with the fact that they've lost communication with the younger people and are looking for ways to bridge that gap. Right.
Well, I didn't ask you what brings you to from the Windy City to the dingy city, you might say. Your air is still better than ours. I'll have to hand you that.
Toss up. Well, we've got a new. I'm hosting a new TV show called Playboy After Dark, late night variety show.
Whew. It doesn't start here in a few days, does it?
Yes. Son of a gun, it does.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. And
not in this time slot, I assume.
No, it's not.
I assume you would have told me beforehand. After dark, yes.
Yes, and it's a late night variety show with a little different kind of party format, like a party in my apartment, and we're hosting it, and I'm out publicizing it.
I see. I had Norman Mailer here one day, and I was at your place the first time I played Mr. Kelly's in Chicago, and I've always wanted to see it. And I've mentioned this on the air before, but there had been an article in Playboy about the house, and the readers had all wanted to see inside it and all, and so you did about 6 or 8 pages of color pictures on the house, and there was a picture of the famous pool, and someone had posed a lot of unclad ladies around the pool for photogenic purposes, I assume, and I assumed that that's the way it always was. And you said I could come and go at the house, so I came over, I think 15 days in a row, and I would always check the pool.
First thing.
Yes, and the water temperature was always the same, and there was never anybody, there was not a single unclad torso there. 15 days in a row. On the 16th day, however, my luck changed, and I mentioned this before. I went down to the pool, and there I could hear the waterfall running, and I went down, and there was a nude in the pool, and it was Norman Mailer. Isn't that... Now, Mailer was on the show, and I told him that story, and he denied having been nude.
Yes.
And it was rather a tense moment here. He sat there, and he said he wasn't. And the only way I could think of out of it was to say, well, do you realize how much talent it takes to appear nude when you're not? Later, he asked what kind of a person would think a person was nude who wasn't. And, I don't know who won this, if in fact it's a debate.
He mentioned the debate to me afterwards.
Yes, it's one of the great ones in our society.